Hello everybody, and welcome to our Sweet Serenity's online video series. We're just beginning with our first video just to give everybody a hand with staying healthy and getting some movement in at home. Today we're just going to focus on a nice stretch out that will definitely boost the immune system, but just get you feeling like you're not a couch potato. Janine will be demonstrating all of our modifications as we have some blocks, and she's already seated up on a bolster, which some of you may know that when you're in a seated position, cross-legged on your mat, it can be a little bit uncomfortable when you first start your practice, or if you have really tight hips or sore knees. So lifting yourself up onto some height, whether it's a bolster or a larger charcoal block, helps to take some of the pressure off of the hips, and it helps you to feel like you're not dumping so much weight into the lower back. So we'll just begin here today sitting nice and tall. You can have your palms open or down depending on how you're feeling. Generally, having your palms open means that you're open to receiving some energy throughout your practice, and palms down means that you're looking to stay a bit more grounded. If you feel comfortable at this time, you can close your eyes and just begin to connect with your breath. Notice how it is just in the moment, not forcing the length or the depth. Taking the time to scan your body for any emotions that are arising. Usually we'll find the emotions arising in the abdomen, identifying where it's coming from. Where is that feeling based? Are you feeling nervous, stressed? Are you feeling fearful? And just giving that emotion a name. Staying with the breath will help you to sort of dissipate that emotion, but for some people it helps if you actually internally talk to that emotion and thank it for whatever purpose it was serving, and let it know that it's okay for it to go away. Take a nice deep inhale through your nose and let it go with a sigh. Gently flutter open your eyes when you're ready, and we'll begin just a nice stretch out today. So we'll just swing around into a tabletop position. You want to make sure that you have good alignment, so you want your wrists and your shoulders to be in line with each other, as well as your knees and your hips. Just to make sure that you're not dumping weight into any area of the body that isn't equipped for it. Spread our fingers nice and wide and grip your fingertips into your mat, just firing up all those little muscles, getting some movement into the wrists, and also firing up the muscles of our arms. You can have your toes tucked behind you if that feels okay for you. And as you inhale, you're going to draw the crown of your head up to the ceiling and your tailbone up to the ceiling, dropping your navel down to the mat or toward the mat. Exhale and push away, untuck your toes, round the spine. Once you've completed that exhale, you'll tuck your toes again. Bring the crown and the tailbone up to the ceiling. Exhale. Nice, slow, intentional movements. Very gentle. We're just bringing some movement into the spine. Inhale. Notice how the inhale helps with the stretch in the abdomen. The deeper your inhale goes, the more you feel that stretch. coming back to a neutral back, we're gonna drop our toes, untuck them, send our hips back and down. Maybe take the knees a little bit wider if you want a more intense stretch, and then just reaching your hands away from you. We're gonna stay nice and active in this reach. So we're physically reaching away. We're not going to relax our arms, and bring your forehead to rest on your mat. Inhale to lift your head slightly, and we're just going to walk our fingertips off to the right side of the mat. Reach away again and bring the head to rest. Anchoring through that left hip so that you feel the stretch from the side of your left hand all the way down through your side body on the left side. Inhale to lift your head, walking back through center just for a moment to reset the spine. And with your next inhale, walking the fingertips over to the left side of the mat. Inhale to lift your head and walk your fingertips back through center. We'll come back up into a tabletop position. We'll just crawl up towards the top of our mat just so that there's enough space for our whole body to be on the mat. We'll check in with that foundation in our hands one more time. Make sure that your fingers are spread nice and wide. You're gripping your fingertips into your mat, and that's going to make sure, again, that we're not dumping all of our weight into the wrists. You're going to tuck your toes behind you and lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Take a nice generous bend in your knees, especially as we take this first one. Energetically, we're drawing our heels down to the mat. Even if they don't get there, it doesn't matter. That's just energetically what you want to be feeling in your body. We're pointing the tailbone up to the ceiling, pressing out through the palms, and there's a nice clean line of energy from Janine's wrists all the way to her hips. She's also going to be feeling a nice stretch in the hamstrings. And this is also a good time in your practice to walk your legs out as well. So as you bend one knee, you'll draw the opposite heel to the ground, and you'll just alternate back and forth. As you take your next inhale, bring your gaze in between your hands and gently walk your feet up to meet your gaze in a forward fold. We want to make sure that our feet are about a shoulder or a hip's distance apart. Toes are spread nice and wide. We still have that nice bend in the knees. And we're just waking up these muscles. Could feel a little bit uncomfortable right now, but as we move, it'll loosen up. Take your next 2 or 3 breaths to make your way up to standing. Just ragdolling up, as we say, and just rolling one vertebrae at a time. Rolling your shoulders back, and your head comes up last. Shoulders come back and down, and we open up our palms. Our chest feels nice and proud. We're drawing the crown of our head to the ceiling, making sure that there's lots of length through the spine. From our Tadasana, we're just going to do a brief stretch or a brief twist to just test out how our back is feeling today. So just standing nice and tall, drawing the crown of your head up to the ceiling. You can bring your hands to your hips, or you can bring them out in a T position, whatever feels best for you. Keeping your hips square, as we exhale, we're going to twist over to the right at the navel. So I'm keeping my left hip anchored, keeping my hips square to each other, just twisting the upper body. Exhale, back to center. Inhale to reset, and exhale to twist to the other side. Making note of how your back feels, if there's any tightness on the right or left side, so that as we move through the rest of our practice, we're able to best care for each side of the body individually. Exhale, back to center. Inhale, arms up above the head. Exhale, swan dive forward into a forward fold. Just a couple of breaths here. Planting your hands on the outer edges of your feet, you're going to step back nice and long into a plank position. Exhale to lower your knees softly to the ground, and exhale to lower the rest of your body down to the mat. Keeping your hands beneath your shoulders, you're going to untuck your toes and press your toenails into your mat along with the whole shoelace side of your feet. You'll fire up through the legs and through the glutes, and we'll inhale just with a small lift into baby cobra, just till we start to feel some activation through the back. Exhale to lower. If you're feeling okay there, we'll inhale, press through the hands again, and come all the way up to full cobra. Exhale to gently and controlled bring yourself back to the ground. Tuck your toes behind you. Pressing through your palms, you're just going to lift up into a tabletop position. And then once you're there, lifting your hips up and back into downward facing dog as we transition. Inhale your right heel up, part way or all the way, whatever is best for your practice today. And as you exhale, draw that knee in towards your chest and bring that foot through and plant it next to your right hand. This is a great time for you to grab your blocks. So once you lower that left knee down to the mat, you can grab hold of your blocks and bring the ground up a little bit higher for you. This may take a little bit of adjusting. Same thing with your back leg behind you. You may prefer to have your toes tucked or untucked, depending on where that places your kneecap. Planting your left hand down firmly on your block or your mat, we're going to inhale the right arm up to the ceiling. Same twisting motion as when we were standing. We're not trying to twist our whole body around. We're just twisting right at the navel so that we're only twisting the back and the hips are staying square. You can bring your gaze up to the ceiling. You can also look down. There's lots of modifications. You can keep your arm at your side. Just give it a little test and see what works best for your body. Exhale to bring that right hand back down on the outer edge of the left foot. We're going to lift that left knee back up off of the mat, bring the right foot back to meet it, and bring the hips back into downward facing dog. To reset, feel free to walk out your knees here if that feels good. Sometimes we need a little reset, and just that little bending of the knees can be really helpful. Awesome. With your next inhale, you're going to lift your left heel up to the ceiling. In that direction, it's definitely not going to make it there. Exhale to pull that knee in towards your chest and bring it through and plant it next to your left hand. Grab your blocks if you need to, drop your right knee behind you. And we're just going to settle here in this low lunge just for a moment. Bringing a nice stretch in through the hip flexor and the quad on our right leg this time. Bring that right hand firmly down to the mat or onto your block. And as you inhale, bring that left arm up to the ceiling. Exhale to bring that hand back down. Lifting up that right knee, bringing the left foot back to meet the right foot in that plank position. walking slowly up to the top of your mat into a forward fold. Just going to spend a moment here, really allowing the muscles of the lower back to release. At least a micro bend in the knees is good. We don't want to lock out the knees, but some people may need a deeper bend in the knees, and that's totally fine. Having our body in this inverted state where our head is below our heart actually helps with our circulation, it helps to lower blood pressure, and it is really beneficial for our immune system as well. It helps all of that fresh fluid and blood cycle through the body in areas that it may be stagnant. Bring a nice gentle bend to the knees if you haven't already, and use your next 2 breaths to come up to standing. We just don't want to have a head rush. Rolling the shoulders back and down and bringing the head up last. Keeping your left foot planted, we're going to step back nice and wide into a wide leg position on our mats. We're going to turn our feet so that they're parallel to each other, but we're going to make sure that we're still feeling nice and strong through our legs. We don't want to dump our weight into the outer edges of our ankles. And from here, we're going to hinge at the hip. So once you're standing nice and tall, exhale to bend at the hip into a forward fold. You can bring your hands directly to the ground, or if need be, you can grab a block to bring the ground closer to you. As you may know, the block has a few different heights, so you can use just one block. You can stack both of your blocks on each other. You can also turn your block this way or this way to change the height based on what kind of support you need. We're going to keep our feet planted in this wide leg forward fold, and as we take our next exhale, we're going to walk our hands over to the right side, bring a bit more of a bend to that right knee, and feel that stretch in through the inner thigh on the left side. Inhale, return to center, just for a moment. Exhale over to the left side. Inhale, back through center. Keeping your hands planted on the ground or your blocks, you're going to heel toe your feet a little bit closer to each other. You still have a bit of a wider stance, but not as much. We're also pointing the big toes to the outer corners of our mat. And with the next exhale, you're going to bend your knees and begin to drop your hips down into that Malasana Yogi squat. From here, again, you can grab your blocks and make yourself a little perch to sit on if this is really hard on your hips. It may take some time and practice with this particular pose to see what angles and positions to place yourself in, because there's a lot going on in the ankles, in the knees, in the hips, in the chest. So it takes a little bit of time to find your groove with that one. Once you're in your Malasana squat, you can choose to bring your hands to heart center and press your elbows into your knees to open up through there. It opens up the heart. We're drawing the crown of our head up to the ceiling. Again, if you're feeling like you need a little bit more grounding today, you can also bring your palms to the ground and round the spine if that feels better for you. So it helps to be mindful of just what you're feeling today, how your back is feeling, how you're feeling energetically. Coming back up from wherever you are, you're going to bring your right hand behind you to the ground, just as a little stand to help you lower yourself to your mat. So from our comfortable seated position, we're just going to turn so that we're on the length of our mat, and we're going to stretch our legs out straight in front of us. Again, once you arrive here, you may notice it's not feeling so good in the back. You may feel a lot of tightness in the quads or the hip flexors, and that's where your bolster is going to help with that. Again, it's just going to lift the hips up and give a bit of a better angle so that everything's sort of on a downturn rather than a complete flat line. And we're just spend a moment here drawing the crown of our head up to the ceiling, staying nice and long there. You may need your blocks at your sides here. Gonna keep our toes flexed up towards the ceiling. And with your next exhale, you're going to draw your chest forward. So we're not rounding the spine at all. We're actually tilting the whole pelvis with the spine forward. It doesn't matter how drastic the bend is. All that matters is what's energetically happening in the body. You may notice after a few breaths, you're able to walk your fingers a little bit further. And inhale to come back up. Going to take our right foot and bring it over the line of our left foot and just place it on the other side of the left knee. Take a look and see how you feel here, but if you're feeling a lot of tightness in through the side of the leg, or there's any sort of discomfort that you don't want to work through, you can keep your foot on the inner edge of the other leg instead. So whatever works best for you. Keeping those left toes pointed in front of you, we're going to sit up nice and tall. We're going to take our right hand and set it behind us as an extra support. Bring your left hand to your right knee. Inhale, and as you exhale, twist. We're bringing that right shoulder back, keeping the chest nice and open. Again, just twisting at the navel. If you feel like you haven't set up very well, feel free to return back to center, reset, bring some space into the spine with that inhale, and then exhale to twist. After 2 or 3 breaths here, you can exhale back to center. Bring that right leg back long next to the other one, and get ready to reset for the other side. Again, keep in mind that the other side may be different, so you may prefer modifications on the next side where you didn't before, or vice versa. Bend that left knee and place your foot wherever you feel best. Keep those right toes pointed. Left hand comes out behind us this time. Right hand comes to our left knee. Inhale to create space, and exhale to twist. Exhale back to center. And we're just going to bend our knees and bring our feet flat to the floor to ease ourselves down onto our backs. Once we're here, we're going to enjoy one more twist before we end our practice for the day. So with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, you're going to press into your heels to lift up your hips and move them over to the left side of your mat. Take one of your blocks with you just in case. And after you've had a breath here, with your exhale, you're going to drop your knees over to the right side, possibly propping them up with a block if you need to. So you can place the block underneath the knees, in between the knees, whatever you need, whatever feels best. If you generally sleep with a pillow between your legs to keep alignment in the hips, then that's where you'd want to put the block. We want to keep both of our shoulders on our mat. We don't want it lifting up, but if it is, the propping helps with that. So if you need a bit more height, if you're not quite there, grab your second block, and that will make it so both shoulders stay planted on the mat. To deepen this twist, if your neck feels okay, you can face your head in the opposite direction of the knees, but it's by no means required. It's just if you want to take it a little bit deeper and bring it into the neck. Just a few breaths here. It's a great time just to begin connecting with your breath again, getting back into that state of intentional relaxation, possibly visualizing all the benefits that come from this twisting motion. Any movement in the abdomen sort of acts as a wringing out motion for our intestines, and as a lot of us know, the intestines and the gut is responsible for a lot of things that happen with our state of mind, our immune system. So working into this area and manipulating it really helps the body to remove any toxins, germs. It really helps it to just work optimally. Inhale to activate through your abdominal muscles. And you're just going to bring your knees back to center. Press through the feet to come back to center again with the hips. And after you've had a second to reset, some people like to hug their knees into their chest, stretch them out long. Once you're practicing, you'll kind of see what feels best for you. Go ahead and release those knees back to, or the feet back to the ground, pressing through the heels again. We're going to lift our hips over to the left side of the mat this time. All this is doing is just creating more space for you on your mat. Exhale to drop those knees over to the left side this time. Again, you may notice this side is different. Inhale your knees back up through center. Press into your heels to bring your spine nice and straight on your mat. Hug your knees into your chest. Pull them in tight. Give yourself a big hug if that feels good. Take a happy baby if that feels good. So we're just going to bring our peace fingers around our big toes and bring our shins parallel with our arms. Or it may be more comfortable for you to just grab the outer edges of your feet. Here we're pressing our tailbone down to the ground, keeping our spine nice and long by tucking the chin slightly. And exhale to release. Let your legs go long out in front of you. Press into the back of your head to lift up your shoulders. Roll your shoulder blades back and down so they're nice and flat on your mat. Let your hands relax at your sides. Again, placing your hands with however you're feeling, so palms open or palms down. Beginning to wind down and come into our final pose of Shavasana. You want to scan through the body. I like to start at the head. One spot for me that is always clenched is the muscle between my eyebrows, so I intentionally release that. Unclench my jaw and allow my tongue to fall away from the roof of the mouth. Let the shoulders come away from your ears. Exhale any tension in the neck. Allow the gentle rise and fall of your abdomen. Let your hips be heavy. Muscle falls away from bone, down your legs, and your feet can relax in whichever way is natural to them. You can spend as much time here as you'd like. I always recommend at least 5 to 7 minutes. Some people prefer longer, but I always prefer at least 5 minutes here in Shavasana. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope to see you guys in the studio soon. Lifting up your right heel up towards the ceiling, doesn't matter how high it goes.
Ow, ow. That was very bad.